Let us be a faith that gathers, reaching out for one another through the walls of hatred and suspicion that others build, through the cages of ignorance and arrogance, and through the fear that stalks our streets. Let us be a faith that sees a vision of a better world, more compassionate, more just, more holy, and guided by a liberating love. There is a faith that binds up the broken, tends battle wounds with the balm of peace, sings longer and louder than those who would divide us. Let us be that faith too, a faith of solidarity. Let us be the ones who do not turn away, but light up this world with truth and love, who hold up the mirror of worth and dignity, who are the sanctuary that others seek. But first, let us be a faith that worships together, here, this morning, in this sacred space. At this moment, let us be a faith. These words from Heidi Cotton welcome all who have gathered this morning for our Sunday service. Welcome to those who have gathered in person at Essex Church, and to all those who are joining us via Zoom, and anyone watching or listening at a later date via YouTube or the podcast. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Patricia Brewerton, and I'm a member and a trustee of this congregation. This morning's service is about borders. It seems we cannot live without borders, between countries, communities, and sometimes between ourselves. But love knows no borders. As the words on the order of service say, our minds seek boundaries that our hearts know not. Let us light our chalice flame now as we do each week. It's a moment for us to stop and take a breath, settle ourselves down, put aside any preoccupations we came in carrying. This simple ritual connects us in solidarity with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists the world over, and reminds us of the proud and historic progressive religious tradition of which this gathering is part. Our first hymn this morning is number 32 in your purple books, Earth Was Given as a Garden. For those joining via Zoom, the words will be up on the screen, as they will be for all the hymns today. Feel free to stand or sit as you prefer. Let's sing up as best we can.
Tree
Let us take those joys and concerns into an extended time of prayer. You might want to adjust your position for comfort. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. There might be a posture that helps you to feel more prayerful. Whatever works for you. Do whatever you need to do to get into the right state of mind for us to pray together, to be fully present here and now in this sacred time and space, with ourselves, with each other, and with that which is both within us and beyond us. Spirit of life, God of all love, in whom we live and move and have our being, we turn our full attention to you, the light within and without, as we tune in to the depths of this life and the greater wisdom to which and through which we are all intimately connected. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and stillness at the very center of our being. We gather today as people reaching across human differences, sharing our ongoing commitment to compassion and truth together, despite the tragic evidence of violent conflict and needless suffering worldwide. In this quiet moment, let us cry out for the suffering of our world, for the wars and acts of terror across the waters far away from us, and for the ripples of fear and hatred we witness much closer to home. For brutality and corruption, violence and distrust, such waste of life, for refugees fleeing oppression, and children haunted by cruelty. Spirit of life, God of all love, hear our cry, and help us to become instruments of your love. Let us speak in solidarity with the disempowered. Let us devote our lives to the way of peace and justice. Let us join the voices of compassion and remember our common humanity. We ask for the grace to be our best selves, to be merciful, patient, gracious, and trusting. We ask for the vision to be builders of the human community rather than its destroyers. We ask for the humility as a people to understand the fears and hopes of other peoples. We ask for the heart it takes to care for all people as well as for ourselves. In this quiet moment, we lift up those places in our own lives and in our own hearts where burdens, sorrow, and anxiety reside. May there be peace, may there be grace, may there be the support we need. In this quiet moment, let us give thanks for the blessings in our own lives, for home and family and friends, for faith and meaningful work. We give thanks for our ability to gather in this way as people of peace. We give thanks. Spirit of life, God of all love, as this time of prayer comes to a close, we offer up our joys and concerns, our hopes and fears, our beauty and brokenness, and we call on you for insight, healing, and renewal. As we look forward now to the coming week, help us to live well each day and be our best selves, using our unique gifts in the service of love, justice, and peace. Amen. Let's sing again now. Our second hymn is number 124 in our purple books, One More Step.
This is an excerpt from Mending Wall by Robert Frost. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbours. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbours? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offence. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there, bringing a stone grass firmly by the top in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not of woods only and the shade of trees. He will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it well. He says again, good fences make good neighbours.
Something there is that doesn't love a wall, by Margaret Kirk. We see barriers erected between people of different lands. We see sheets of steel and towers of concrete called protection. We see boundaries policed. Watch men, women, and children running from hunger and persecution, looking for a gap in the wall. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. We see walls of fear, fear of the young, fear of the stranger, fear of sexuality that is different, fear of the educated, fear of the poor, fear of the Muslim, fear of the Jew. Fear upon fear, endless and perpetuating. And we offer our silent prayer that solid walls of fear will crumble to dust. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. We hear the language of separation, the jingoistic chant, the racial slur, words of indifference and dismissal, words arranged for the purpose of exclusion, words that sting and taunt, words that lie. Let us find words that ring with love and truthfulness, that reach out through the emptiness of separation. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. We see the deluded barriers of the mind protecting self. We see relationships stripped of affection as one person becomes closed to another. We see people trapped in misunderstanding, old hurts reignited, bricks placed higher on the wall, goodwill and trust suspended. And we ask for boundaries that are not impenetrable, through which light can shine and distance be dissolved. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, and when we need these boundaries for our own well-being, let us know them for what they are. Use them wisely and kindly, recognizing our own vulnerability and that of others, so each of us can find the space for retreat and succor, find that peace which passes all understanding, and be renewed with strength and love for the task of living joyfully in communion with others.
Thank you, Pat and John. We're moving into a time of meditation now. To take us into shared silence, I'm going to share a short poem called God Beyond Borders by Kathy Galloway of the Iona community. We'll move from the spoken word into a few minutes of silence, which will end with the sound of a bell. And then we'll hear some music for meditation from George. So let's do what we need to do to get comfortable. Adjust your position if you need to. Perhaps put your feet flat on the floor to ground yourself. Maybe close your eyes. As we always say, the words are just an offering, so feel free to use this time to meditate in your own way. God, beyond borders, we bless you for strange places and different dreams, for the demands and diversity of a wider world, for the distance that lets us look back and reevaluate for new ground, where the broken stems can take root, grow and blossom. We bless you for the friendship of strangers and richness of other cultures and the painful gift of freedom. Blessed are you, God beyond borders. But if we have overlooked the exiles in our midst, heightened their exclusion by our indifference, given our permission for a climate of fear and tolerated a culture of violence, have mercy on us, God who takes side with justice. Confront our prejudice, stretch our narrowness, sift out our laws and our lives with the penetrating insight of your Spirit, until generosity is our only measure.
God Has No Borders by Rod Richards. We humans are the line drawers. We are the border makers. We are the boundary testers. We are the census takers. We draw a line to separate this from that so we can clearly see what each is. We create a border to define our place so we can take care of what's there. We test boundaries to find if they are real, if they are necessary, if they are just. We congregate within those boundaries in families and tribes and cities and countries that we call us. And we call people on the other side them. But our minds seek boundaries that our hearts know not. The lines we draw disappear when viewed with eyes of compassion. The recognition of human kinship does not end at any border. A wiser part of us knows that the other is us, and we them. Let justice flow like water, and peace like a never-ending stream. Let compassion glow like sunlight, and love like an ever-shining beam. The rain, the sunshine, the breeze, the life-giving air we breathe, they know no boundaries. Neither do our empathy, our goodwill, our concern for one another. God has no borders. Love has no borders. Let us lift up the awareness of our unity as we celebrate the awesome diversity of creation on this beautiful day.
Thanks, Chloe. One thing I have never, ever thought about being is an astronaut, and I bet you're all surprised at that. The thought of being trapped in a spacecraft for months or even hours I find terrifying, and I can hardly even bear to think of anyone leaving it to walk in space. I'm also concerned that all these adventures in space are damaging the space that we already inhabit. So I can see why David wasn't sure I'd appreciate his Christmas present this year. The Booker Prize-winning novel, Orbital. Actually, I found it fascinating. It tells the story of 6 astronauts circling the Earth, collecting meteorological data and conducting scientific experiments. 2 Russians, an Italian, an American, a Japanese, and 1 British, 4 men and 2 women, who must share the same cramped space for 9 months as they go round and round the Earth, passing endlessly from day to night. And although it's only a novel, the writer did do a lot of research before writing it. So I like to think it does describe some of what goes on in those space stations which orbit our Earth. Perhaps they really do attempt to grow cabbages and dwarf wheat. And maybe there are 40 caged mice being monitored to see how much their muscles have wasted during their time in space. We humans do seem to think we have a right to use other species for our own benefit. I felt so sorry for those poor little mice clinging to the bars of their cage for days on end before they allowed themselves to become weightless and float around. And the idea of the Russians having their own toilet with a sign on the door saying, "Because of ongoing political disputes, please use your own national toilet," is both funny and sad. Would that really happen? I suppose it could. But there are no loo disputes between the crew, who find the whole thing amusing In fact, there are no disputes at all. And this is probably because they're all working together for the same goals and they all depend on each other. And they all spend time gazing back in wonder at the earth, their beautiful blue boat home. And from so far away, they can see that the only borders are between the land and the sea. They are warned before they set off. You'll see no countries, just a rolling, indivisible globe, which knows no possibility of separation, let alone war. There are no walls or barriers, no tribes, no war or corruption. But of course they know, as we know, that there are wars and that borders are something people will kill and die for. People have been defining borders, building walls and fences for centuries to keep people in or to keep people out. Our Prime Minister has held 2 summits of European leaders recently. One was for a plan for a peacekeeping force to prevent Russia from recrossing the border into Ukraine, should there ever be a ceasefire there, a coalition of the willing. The other was to prevent people fleeing war and famine from crossing our borders as they seek sanctuary in Europe. You could call that the coalition of the unwilling, perhaps. But whatever borders we create, how many walls and fences we build, in the end, we all live on the same planet. We all share the same earth, sea and sky, and what affects one will affect all. There is no planet B. And sadly, all this turmoil in the world ends up causing borders within our own communities. Somehow we must find a way of living together. And of course, there are places where people do come together for search for ways of understanding. I don't know how many of you listen to Sunday, the religious version of the Today programme. The other Sunday, there was an item about an accord signed between representatives of the Muslim and Jewish communities in this country. As you would expect, the presenter interviewed the rabbi involved in the project. But then, instead of speaking from someone from the Muslim community, for some reason, she interviewed a member of the Royal United Services Institution. RUSI, as it is known, is a defense think tank, and he brought the whole thing back to Gaza on war. And again, this is a bit odd because there are Christian churches in Gaza, so that should have been part of the accord as well. But in any case, I do wonder whether starting from the position of difference is the best way to get to know and understand each other. Doesn't that create a border from the get-go? One of the best ways of getting to know people I have found is working with them on some project or other, like the astronauts in the novel I read. I'm sure we've all had that experience at work or in some voluntary role. As most of you know, I am involved in politics locally. And this inevitably involves a lot of meetings. Last August, on a very hot day, I was at one of these meetings when a woman I had not met before sat opposite me. On account of the heat, I was wearing a sleeveless frock. She was wearing a niqab, which covered her from head to toe, and even her eyes were hidden behind a pair of large gold-framed sunglasses. I really could not see her at all. She introduced herself as Wahida. There are about 15 people at this meeting, all offering suggestions, discussing plans, etc. It was held in a room above an arcade of dress shops. And when it finally ended, I found myself walking out of the building with Wahida. And together we searched for that green button that would open the gate at the end of the arcade. We started to joke about what we would have done had we not been able to get out and been stuck there all night. Play dressing up in the glamorous gowns in those shops, perhaps. We walked together along the road for a while, talking about family. I was about to go on holiday, and she said she was looking forward to her sons being old enough to take her travelling. When we came to part company, she lowered her glasses and smiled at me with her eyes. As part of my endless research into Middle East politics, I'm reading a detailed study of Hamas by Italian historian Paola Caridi, and something she wrote in her acknowledgements seems appropriate here. She acknowledges that many people have helped her research for the book. She writes, there are men and women, Israelis and Palestinians, Italians, Europeans and Americans, Arabs, Christians, Jews and Muslims. She doesn't want to label any of the people she spoke to because she says they are individuals with all the baggage that naturally comes along with their personal and community identities, but all have been important to the writing of this book, all engaged in the same project. We too are individuals with our own baggage, and as Unitarians, we come from many different faith backgrounds, and some from no faith at all. But on Sundays, we gather in one space with one purpose, to put aside the problems, ours or the world's, for an hour, as we share space and time together. As we listen to each other's joys and concerns, we learn to acknowledge and honor our differences. As we share our longing for a world of love, justice, and peace, we become better able to help build that beloved community. May it be so. Time for one last hymn, one of our favourites, number 198, We'll Build a Land. Thanks to Janine for tech hosting today. Thanks to Pat, John and Chloe for reading. Thanks to George for lovely music today and for Benji for supporting our singing. Thanks to Juliet for greeting and David for doing the coffee. Please do stay for a cuppa and a chat. And we've got some special cake made by Jasmine because Jane's away. We couldn't have no cake, so she's stepped in. On Wednesday at 7 p.m, we have our in-person Heart and Soul contemplative spiritual gathering. And this week, we're considering travelling. Or we're meeting online on Friday at 7 p.m. Whether you're coming in person or online, do please contact Jane to book your place. This month's Better Book Club will be about The Life Inside by Andy West. And you've still got time to read that if you'd like to come along. I think there's one book left at the back there. That will be on Sunday, the 29th of April on Zoom. And next Sunday, we'll be back here at 11 for our Easter service and congregational lunch. Have a word with Liz. She's not here today. She's at GA, but you can contact her online to let her know what food or drink you can contribute to a Bring and Share. And save the date for the 27th, when we have our membership service and AGM, and even further ahead, we have our next tea dance on Sunday, 4th of May. So do plan to come along for that. Details of our various activities are printed on the back of the order of service for you to take away, and they're also in the Friday email. Or why not take home a copy of our newsletter and a copy of the Inquirer to please Juliet? This congregation very much has a life behind Sunday mornings, and we encourage you to keep in touch, look out for one another, and do what you can to nurture supportive connections. Time for our closing words and closing music now. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concern, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the word, and to the promptings of our faith continues. So, until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be loving, be true, and nurture goodness wherever you go. May it be so, for the greater good of all. Amen.